In prison, those who harm children face ruthless justice. Even hardened criminals enforce this unspoken rule, delivering swift and brutal retribution. From calculated attacks to violent revenge, child predators rarely escape their fate behind bars. Join us as we explore 10 cases where this ultimately led to their deaths. Number 10. DeAndre Austin. DeAndre Austin's crimes were horrific. He was convicted in 2008 for repeatedly assaulting his 3 nieces. His abuse came to light when one victim spoke out, leading to a life sentence. But on October 14, 2019, Austin met a violent end. He was found dead in his cell, murdered by his cellmate, Rodney Jordan. Jordan, serving time for multiple offenses, despised child predators and took matters into his own hands. Authorities ruled Austin's death a homicide, though Jordan's exact motives remained unconfirmed. Some saw it as vengeance, others as twisted justice. In a grim turn of fate, Austin became the victim of the same brutality he had inflicted. His death highlighted the harsh reality of prison, where punishment doesn't always stop at sentencing and justice can take brutal, unexpected forms. Number 9. Liam Dean. Liam Dean, convicted of killing his newborn daughter, met a violent end at HMP Leeds just 1 month into his sentence on November 12, 2018. Dean had brutally attacked Luna, just 2 days old, while her mother rested. He initially claimed she had fallen, but his deception unraveled, leading to his conviction. Inside prison, Dean was a marked man. His cellmate, John Westland, serving time for assault, believed without evidence that Dean had also molested the child. Fueled by rage, Westland struck. Guards found Dean's lifeless, bloodied body. A broken aftershave bottle was nearby, bearing Westland's fingerprints. Dean had suffered asphyxiation and deep lacerations. Westland was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 19 years. Many predators believe they have escaped justice, but in prison, it often arrives in the most brutal way imaginable. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now. Number 8. Sanderson. Stephen Sanderson, who had been serving a life sentence since 1991 for murdering his girlfriend, largely kept to himself in prison until he crossed paths with Theodore Dyer. Dyer's crimes against a 9-year-old child were so vile that even fellow inmates avoided him. Worse yet, he showed no remorse, openly boasting about his actions. His disturbing lack of guilt ignited a deep, growing resentment in Sanderson. On October 2, 2014, that resentment turned deadly. In the early hours of the morning, Sanderson strangled Dyer with a shoelace in their shared cell. He then calmly approached a guard and confessed, making no effort to conceal what he had done. His actions sparked a wider debate on justice, morality, and the unwritten rules of life behind bars, forcing society to confront a difficult question. Number 7. Don Simpson. Don Simpson, once a respected preacher and train ride owner, was exposed as a predator. Charged with multiple counts of child abuse, his downfall began in 2007 when a 3-year-old's parents reported an assault at his backyard attraction. Initially under house arrest, Simpson was later hospitalized for mental evaluation, but was deemed competent to stand trial. As 2 of his accusers prepared to refile a lawsuit, fate intervened. While in Tarrant County Jail, Simpson was brutally beaten. He suffered fatal head trauma and was pronounced dead at a hospital. His killer, David Fowl Flores, had a history of violent offenses and was charged with murder. Authorities remain unsure whether Simpson's death was a system failure or an act of justice carried out behind bars. Number 6. Geoghan. For over 30 years, Geoghan abused more than 130 boys across 6 parishes. Convicted in 2002, he was sentenced to 9 to 10 years in prison. Defrocked by Pope John Paul II in 1998, he faced ongoing legal battles, but many cases collapsed. Placed in protective custody at Sousa Baranowski Correctional Center, Geoghan couldn't escape retribution. On August 23, 2003, fellow inmate Joseph Lee Druce, a convicted murderer, strangled him. Druce, a survivor of childhood abuse, claimed he had planned the attack from the moment Geoghan arrived. Rumors swirled that Druce had been hired to silence Geoghan, but no evidence emerged. Convicted of murder in 2006, he received a second life sentence. Despite public outrage, Geoghan was buried in Holyhood Cemetery, a final injustice to his victims. But in the next case, a killer hesitated before delivering justice. Number 5. Richard Huckle. Richard Huckle appeared ordinary, a quiet student drawn to community work. After high school, he volunteered in Malaysia, presenting himself as a caring teacher and photographer. But beneath this facade, he exploited vulnerable children, infiltrating orphanages in Malaysia, Cambodia, and India. Authorities uncovered his crimes while dismantling a dark web network. In December 2014, Huckle was arrested in the UK. His horrified mother, upon his confession, alerted police. Investigators found over 200,000 images and evidence of abuse against more than 200 children. In 2016, he was sentenced to life in prison. His time behind bars was brief. On October 13, 2019, fellow inmate Paul Fitzgerald brutally killed him, seeking to make Huckle suffer as his victims had. Huckle's downfall was swift, but the next case is even darker. One where the perpetrator was not an outsider, but a trusted figure shielded by his status until justice finally caught up. Number 4. Andrew Thompson. On the morning of October 26, 2020, in Charlotte County, Florida, jail staff discovered 48-year-old inmate James Palmucci with fabric wrapped around his neck as they arrived to inform him of his scheduled court appearance. Palmucci was facing 83 charges related to child molestation, with victims as young as 12. Investigators alleged he used Snapchat to target his victims and uncovered videos on his phone showing him with one of them. But was it truly suicide? The timing just before his court appearance raises suspicions. Could someone inside the jail have taken justice into their own hands? Number 3. Robert Munger. In Washington State, a routine prison assignment turned deadly when John Goldsby was placed in a cell with Robert Munger, a man he later realized had assaulted his younger sister. Munger, 70 years, was serving a 43-year sentence for child abuse and illegal materials. As Goldsby settled into his new cell at Airway Heights Correctional Center in June 2020, he learned that Munger's crimes were tied to his own family. Goldsby claimed he requested a transfer, but it was ignored. Making matters worse, Munger allegedly detailed his offenses, fueling Goldsby's rage. Hours later, Goldsby attacked Munger in the common area, beating him relentlessly. Munger died days later. Goldsby pleaded guilty and received an additional 25-year sentence. He suggested prison staff deliberately housed him with Munger as retaliation, but an investigation found no evidence of intent. Number 2. Nelson Sanderson. Nelson Sanderson met a brutal end on August 17, 2020, at Florida's Century Correctional Institution. At 79, he had spent years evading justice, fleeing to Costa Rica in 2010 before being extradited in 2016. His time behind bars ended violently when 26-year-old Markel Sawyer ambushed him in a dormitory bathroom, striking him repeatedly with a heavy lock. Sanderson died at the scene. Sawyer later claimed the attack was ordered by the Illuminati, a statement dismissed as delusional. However, fellow inmates confirmed he often spoke about the group's influence. While some saw Sawyer as unhinged, others suspected a deeper motive, given Sanderson's history of child abuse. Authorities launched an investigation, but Sawyer's true reasoning remains unclear. Regardless of his stated rationale, one fact is certain: Sanderson, who once escaped justice, ultimately met a violent and inescapable fate. Number 1. Ashley Brofo. On March 9, 2023, Ashley Brofo's life ended violently at the hands of 43-year-old Evan James Martin. Brofo, a convicted child abuser with intellectual disabilities, had recently pleaded guilty to luring a 9-year-old girl, but had yet to be sentenced. Martin, already serving 11 years for attempting to kill another inmate, also convicted of child crimes, acted before the courts could. He entered Brofo's cell, placed him in a chokehold, and applied pressure until he lost consciousness. To ensure his death, Martin pressed down with his full weight. When questioned, Martin showed no remorse, openly admitting to the killing and taking pride in it. He was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 21 years before parole eligibility. While some inmates see it as their duty to punish child abusers, the next case is even more chilling. The identity of the one responsible has remained a mystery for over 4 years. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. Thanks for watching.